Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, I should say. Apologize for the short delay in start, a few technical difficulties, but I think we're good to go now. Again, welcome back. Thank you for attending AIEC's webinar weeks. We're excited to have electric power engineers with us today. This presentation is going to last roughly 45 minutes. We'll leave 10-15 minutes at the end for Q&A. Please submit your questions again through the chat function. Make sure you direct those at AIEC, and we'll moderate those questions to the presenters for you. Please make sure your microphone's muted. And if you have any questions regarding PE credits, we'll direct those to Brian Adams, badams@aiec.coop. Brian would be more than happy to help you out with those. Today we have Hala Balouz joining us. Hala is the president of Electric Power Engineers. Hala has been the lead consultant in the electric power industry since 1991. She is the owner and president of Electric Power Engineers Incorporated and a registered professional engineer with expertise focused on power systems and energy market study. Ms. Balouz has also been an advisor nationally and internationally on integration of renewables and smart grid development, and I will turn it over to you, Hala.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. I have a very brief overview of the agenda. We're going to have here a great team of myself and also Chase Lansdale, who is going to take a few slides at the end, and Mr. Brandon Young, who is our partner in this smart way in which we implemented great use of AMI data and network systems to bring value to the co-op. Our premise here is to show that there is a very practical way, cost-effective, and one that will likely provide a lot of value to electric co-op, municipalities, IOUs, by traveling the road of grid modernization step by step as needed. And we hope that this will be beneficial for everybody attending and bring up the hopes of tackling grid modernization in an easy way. We'll have Brandon start off by talking about his experience and why he feels enthusiastic about sharing that experience with others. Then I will talk about why and the architecture of the tools and the supporting consulting and why it makes it happen the way it happens. And then Chase will, from our team at EPE and the software supporting service, who is really the account manager of HOTEC, worked with them along the way, will show a few slides with fun parts of that experience and how it brought more value than initially intended. A little bit about myself and Electric Power Engineers, then I'll hand it over to Brandon. Electric Power Engineers is headquartered in Austin, Texas. It's been in business for a long, long time. It's been founded by a professor at Texas A&M University. It has been, ever since its inception, around the power of looking forward and utilizing technology, software, anything we have at our fingertips to serve the electric utility industry. I personally have worked for distribution co-ops as my first job. Ever since EPE was founded, we traveled the path from the focus on distribution, then we transitioned into a lot of experience and value we brought to the transmission planning world, and we did contribute significantly to a lot of renewable energy integration. We are able to bring value to our customers because we are a tight group of 50 power systems engineers, not too large, not too small, who know a little bit about everything related to the grid and a lot about all of it together, from the consumer level and the problems and their interconnection to the grid, the quality they need to see, all the way to distribution, transmission, and the power generation, and making it all work in a reliable and economic way. And this is the basis why we understood the problem at hand with the increased technology integration and the increased amount of data and the need for our customers who we serve as consultants to tackle this problem in a realistic way. So with that said, I hand it over to Brandon. And Brandon, I will be flipping through your slides. If you don't mind, you can just tell me next.
Okay.
All right, so the title for you is The Smart Experience of an Electric Co-op.
All right. Thank you, Hala. And I'll just add a little bit about our co-op and myself as far as the experience I have in distribution electric co-op. Our co-op's just Central Texas. We have roughly 24,000 meters, about 3,900 miles of distribution line, just west of Waco, serving 7 counties. I've actually been in the electric distribution world for about 25 years. The first 10 was in operations. That included a lot of operations planning, engineering, work plan analysis. And then I served as CFO here at Heart of Texas Electric Co-op for a period of time, and then that included a management role to go along with it. I took the position of general manager about 3 years ago, and we've continued to work with EPE and ENER-I in order to incorporate a lot of the data that we have through our AMI system, which is Landis and Gear. We're using the Plex product, looking at RF as well. And one of the things that I had asked them early on was I wanted a means to integrate all of these systems under one hood, so to speak, so that we could utilize those amongst our employees and actually get some benefit or return on investment from all of the systems coming together. What I had found over the years is finance didn't speak well to operations, and by bringing these systems together, I've really found that we become much more efficient. We've used them. We have some major investments within the systems, and we definitely want to put them to work for us. So next slide, please. And a lot of this comes back to what I just said. We've had a long-term relationship with EPE over 20 years. They've created work plans for us, taking care of engineering products. A lot of our engineering analysis software has always been driven by them, or at least for the period of time I've been with the co-op. So they were a credible partner. They were someone we knew had experience within the utility realm, and we've been able to pretty much be very specific with what we want, what our needs are. We sit down with our operations and finance folks, with their engineers and computer software programmers, and they're able to actually build specifically what we need and utilize in our day-to-day operations. Next slide. And this is what I meant by under one hood. Right now, this is a pretty busy slide, but what we've been able to bring together for our dispatchers, for our ops folks, for our linemen, all the way through the entire organization chart here at the co-op, so that we don't have to log in to 14 different systems to analyze data, to bring them back, to put them in spreadsheets. We're now building dashboards to be able to analyze and be able to make decisions for management purposes and planning purposes. So you can see here, even though the slide's busy, we're bringing in live data from our AMI system for outages. We also have an OMS system that's driving data into this as well. Our staking is done through a program with CIS, and we're incorporating the staking so that our staking engineers, while staking in the field with their iPads, are able to come back in. They can sync that with this GIS. It automatically, in our engineering analysis program, builds it onto the map so that engineering, all they have to do is come in, ensure that the connectivity is there. Once connectivity is there, they can run reports as necessary. You see the dashboards up top, the analytics dashboards. That's bringing more and more great value, especially in a management role. We're able to really boil it down to exactly what we need to see, because time is of the essence. It's very valuable to us. And if we can see only what we need to see to make those decisions, then from there we can do our planning and execute. The customer information, again, that's coming from our CIS system. We were able to break it down to exactly what the people need to use on their day-to-day task. You can see everything here between their map locations. Of course, we use GPS, but we also have the grid there as well. What phase they're on, rate type, so forth. And that's also pulling in information from the EA system, the engineering analysis. So we can pull that up, see what the demand is at the location based upon the data being pulled from AMI. You can see their power factor as well. And I know that Hal and her team can customize this if you want something in addition to what we already have. And we continue to work, add, and become more efficient with what's available to us. Next slide. So in this slide here, it really shows you again what's being pulled together. I think if you look at the top there, the assets, financials, projects, O&M, vegetation management. In the distribution world, a big part of what we're dealing with, of course, is analyzing our wholesale power cost, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we're also looking at our system assets for our work plan. It's one of our major expenses. I know we do a 4-year work plan as far as our capital cost, our planning, and we want to be able to get as much value out of those assets as possible. If we leave the life of asset on the table and we're upgrading prior to it being necessary in order to have a resilient system, then we're essentially wasting the money. So by bringing the EA model into this, also trying to bring the vegetation management piece, that's really making us more efficient making those decisions. And the simple, powerful interface, that was another problem we continue to run into by trying to train employees across 14 different system interfaces. That causes its own complications if you have any turnover at all, or as you're bringing in another generation of employees. It simplified it for us to train them under one interface, have one login, and be able to get them directly to the data we need. And then if we have other users that need to go into more detail outside of ENER-I, we're only having to train them specific for those tasks. Next slide. This is where I was talking about the dashboards. This is becoming a very powerful tool for us. What we're going to get into in a moment is more on the vegetation management and also the 4CP analysis. I know y'all are working outside the ERCOT, but for us here in Texas that are in ERCOT, the 4CP is really has a major impact to our fixed wholesale power cost. So for June, July, August, and September, our 4 coincident peaks across those periods are averaged, and that average cost times that KW, there's an associated postage stamp rate per KW multiplied times that 4CP average, and we have to pay that fixed cost for the following 12 months. So as we're able to use this software through the dashboards and do a deeper dive into rate analysis and find some potential to reduce those fixed costs, that has major impacts for us. If you see the interruptions, this comes back to the AMI. I'm not sure which AMI system everyone is on. In our case, for Landis & Gyr, we are able to receive the momentary outages. And based upon those momentary outages being more specific, again, taking a deeper dive, we're able to make operations decisions for vegetation management. It's possible we're seeing that we're having momentary outages in the same location over a period of time. So there's some means there to do predictive analysis for deployment of operations teams prior to outage. That's been helpful as well. And I think we're going to go a little bit deeper into some of these in later slides. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So the configurable dashboard, and we're kind of sitting here looking at the vegetation management side. This has been a powerful tool. I know for us, we're spending about $2 million a year on our right-of-way budget. And if we're capable of becoming more efficient here, then of course there's cost savings. You reduce the momentary outages by getting your resources deployed where they need to go. That's going to reduce line loss and has some other impacts, like I say, the member satisfaction. From here, we are able to build this dashboard so that it is capable of analyzing our contractor cost over a period of time. All the operations team or whoever's involved needs to do is log in, see the dashboard, see the years that we have been in those areas and trim trees as necessary or herbicide, whatever it may be, the associated cost with those areas. From there, it's also a powerful budgeting tool. So now all we have to do is bring that back. Operations looks to see what progress we made over different periods of time. As we come back across that same period based upon our cycle cut, then we can look at what our cost was for that period of time, find out possibly we did some clear cutting, therefore we no longer have to do circuit cutting. That's going to be an adjustment to budget. Maybe that now we have new contractors or new contractor prices, but all we have to do is input those in order to get our budget for the upcoming year. Next slide, please. And this is what we were talking about as far as the management just a moment ago, and this gives you a more detailed look as far as those different locations. As well, we're able to look at the momentary outages. If you notice there toward the middle of the screen, we're showing the momentary, and those event counts can actually be represented in a graphical manner. Your operations team can look at this. Where it becomes very powerful for vegetation management is if you see a concentrated area where you're continuing to have momentary outages, usually that's pretty indicative that you have a vegetation problem in that area. It could be equipment failure, but either way, this takes all of that data, which a lot of us now are getting 15-minute interval data for KW, KWH, but on top of that, you're getting at least a daily packet that's showing your momentary outages. We do not have the means to sit employees in front of those interfaces to try and track those down. And even running analytic reports, it takes a lot more time for that employee to go through all of the reports necessary to give good data back to the operations team. With this, it's simple. You just pull it up, run the dashboard. You're able to see where your major problems are. Relay that to the ops team. They deploy resources into the field. They find where the problem lies, and then, of course, make decisions necessary to fix the problem. Next slide, please. So this is what I was talking about a moment ago in concern to our wholesale power cost and some of what it allows for us to do by analyzing and drilling down deeper into this and actually looking at load shapes as well. You can see there in the middle, we have our different rate classes. We're able to click on any one of these and drill down even from a rate class to an individual rate pair. We can see if they're major violators on our peaks. If they're major violators, then maybe we make direct contact with them. See if we're able to negotiate some means for them to use their energy in a different manner. If so, then of course we can pull them off the peaks. That saves us on wholesale power cost. There may be some opportunities there to offer them different rates, which also give them savings. But as you look on the left-hand side here, we have our Brazos CP. That's our G&T, that coincident peak. They take the highest peak that we have for that year, and that becomes a fixed cost multiplied times their rate. So that gives us something as a goal to work toward to bring that down. You have the ERCOT 4 CP, which I mentioned a moment ago. And then we're also looking at that internal peak for what they call their tier 1 bucket of resources. You can break it down by substation level, and that can actually show you what your costs are per substation. It just gives you a lot of powerful tools here. The load shapes become very powerful in the ERCOT market. We deal with day ahead pricing. We deal with real-time pricing. We can look at these different C&I loads, the commercial industrial loads. Maybe we have contracts in place. Once we have their load shape, we can put that up against what the ERCOT market's doing for that same period. And then we can negotiate that contract as it lies if we have the load shape coming in, or off of real data over a period of time. Also becomes very beneficial if we're having to buy forward products into the next following summer. And it puts that AMI interval data to use so that you can find value because, of course, you have a major investment in your AMI system. Next slide, please.
Brendan, real quick, we have a question that came in. Are you able to do predictive analysis based on hypothetical or assumed numbers?
Hypothetical assumed number, what are we assuming?
basically by plugging in some hypothetical or assumed numbers, are you able to do predictive analysis?
For rate purposes? I'm sorry, I'd already covered a number of things. I'm just seeing if I'm on the right topic.
You know, I would say if we want to answer in a general way, this is very granular representation. You can use the data from the last 24 hours or a forecasted set of parameters for the next 24 hours or in the future. It's a planning tool. So yes, you can do, if that's the question, predictive analytics. Now, the predictive analytics is a big topic. So you want to predict the behavior. We don't have anything like that for Heart of Texas, but we can do predictive analytics if you're trying to predict the behavior of customers. But planning or looking forward with different alternatives as a predictive behavior of the grid and the system, definitely that tool does that.
Thank you.
On this slide, we're looking at the transmission map, and right now ERCOT is in a nodal market. A lot of what we purchase is out of the North Hub. From this, there are some opportunities as we continue to see C&I growth. A lot of those C&Is are becoming much more complex as far as their desired rate structures. Some of them even going so far as they want to go into a real-time rate. And this gives us that opportunity to begin looking at those possibilities. Next slide.
So it's my turn.
And before you do go forward with that, Hala, let me just offer the wholesale power cost is something we're really targeting. If we can reduce that cost, that's 70% of our operations. So even if we can make a small dent in it, it's a huge impact. Looking at it from the work plan ability of the EA and being able to bring the whole team together on operations, for engineering, for life of asset, for the financial components, you know, the impact there financially is we have to recognize that as depreciation. So like I said earlier, if you have a life of asset depreciation 30 years and you're only getting 21 out of it because of a poor decision on your EA, then now if we can expand that out even 5 more years before we have to increase capacity, there's a lot of capital costs that are driven by that. And then the vegetation management is the other one. I think you've seen here that we have numerous tools now that are at our disposal that's interlinking the AMI, the OMS, all the other systems that we use. And I think due to that, we're able to make a lot better decisions. We're able to make decisions quickly. It brings the management team together. The employees have found the tool that we have some linemen that they've been on the distribution system 30 plus years. We tried to roll out the iPad. Some of them said they would never do it, and now you can't take it away from them. So it's they've all bought into it, and we're reaping the benefits.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Hala. Now you can have.
Sure. Thank you. No, I wanted you to have some closure here of the value. So we're excited that to have that experience. I will try to be brief here and give the team a chance and Chase to give you a little bit of the practical experience. But it's important to understand why is it practical? Why is it easy? Because it comes from people, me and our engineers, who really grew up in the buildings and the offices, management offices of electric co-ops and distribution companies. We care, and even in the old days of doing the work plans based on static data and not even AMI data, we always spent half of the budget on getting the data together and getting the billing files and connecting them with things. And the concept that came to the vision here is, how are we going to be good consulting engineers if we can't bring value and efficiency to our customers with the large number of distributed resources, the energy storage, the batteries, the solar, and all the data necessary that change customer behavior. Therefore, we decided that a tool that is the way we would do consulting, and that we leave this tool with our customer to use, is the way of the future. So we spent 5 years developing this need out of being in the shoes of our customers. The concept is we don't want you to have to go and buy something massive when you only use a piece of it. Just like you go to consultants for a small piece, that's what it should become as far as software is concerned. And today's world, starting last year, we started recognizing that need in the industry, and we demonstrated with Heart of Texas, and we're really glad to have thought of it ahead, as the architecture behind it took a long time to build with the vision we have. We fuel it with a lot of R&D. It's very important because there's question on predictive analytics. Well, these things require a lot of intelligent understanding of neural networks on one side, on machine learning and other things, and working with universities gives us a lot of leverage, and we bring tools that otherwise would disappear in research, and we bring it to you to use. Here is on the top of this slide, I'd like to mention that EPE, our tool and approach has been recognized by Texas A&M University Smart Grid Center, and we are fueling that on the distribution side for the future of utility grid analytics. And I want to mention that Dr. Thomas Overby is the professor that started that Smart Grid Center. Texas A&M, which is where I went to school, stole Dr. Overby from the university in Illinois. I'm not very proud of that he's excellent, and he was stolen from Illinois. But now EPE has a team, an engineering team in Illinois, and we plan to bring back to you in different form what was stolen from you. We work with Overby and the Smart Grid Center exactly on those solutions. And we have a team there, and we hope to also partner with the University of Illinois so we can do the same thing we're doing here over there. And we have a great team that I hope some of you will get to meet. The premise is that we, like we do in consulting, we'll walk the walk with you on grid modernization. You don't have to purchase an ADMS when you only want to control a small device. You may not have to purchase an OMS system yet if you're not ready, because we'll work with you to look at your smart meter data and put it with your network and connectivity. But the important part, we're not here to replace any of it. So for Heart of Texas, they have their own OMS. But we do bring that data and layer it together with other information on the system. In other words, grow as you go, as you need it, whether you're going from paper maps to digital maps or you're rolling out AMIs, you've got that in there. And if you want to see it in one way or the other, we will come to you and do it rather than producing for you a report that is a one-time report that you put on your shelf. The value again is in the ability to work with your consultants who understand really how you do things, and half of our systems engineers are very conversant in software, and our software team is right there, part of the company working together. Therefore, we come to you, we say, what do you need? Or you have a need, you come to us, and we work together to provide a solution. Some would ask, aren't you putting yourself out of consulting service? We never think like that. We think what's more efficient, and what goes around comes around. Just like what went from Illinois to Texas is going back to Illinois. The architecture is very simple in the way we like to present it to you, but very powerful. Our tool sits on top of Esri. We allow the GIS and the visualization to be one and the same. We have an excellent user interface. We keep it simple. We keep it to what you need. You don't have to click 1,000 clicks to get what you want. Like Brandon said, just the basis there, the bones are there, and the dashboards are built to provide you what you need. We connect at the bottom here with your whatever other third-party software you have, and then we produce the dashboards through advanced analytics. There is more to the architecture. I don't know that we have enough time. I hope we get to present to you some more on this one day, but the interoperability platform is really the hub of what we do. It is the only constant in the software we build, is the backbone of the architecture. All the rest is really what you want to build yourself. So that backbone connects the third-party services, the data, and connects it to your planning and operations, and allows you to create this mini control center that brings it all together. In the experience with Heart of Texas, I know that 3 years ago when we went there, people were in their separate cubicles doing their thing, and now it's more alive. When Brandon came into the management there and he empowered people to do things, you go there and it's all alive. If there is an outage, they come to the mini control center first before they go to the OMS. Then some people go to the OMS, others go to the CIS, and they do what they need to do. And it really delights us to see the value of that. There's a lot we can do, not all of it. Of course, every utility wants to do. There's a short-term load forecasting that is available there. There is non-wires alternatives, very powerful DER engines that allow you to see where to place batteries and what are the impacts of solar, the solar hosting, or the non-wires alternatives, seeing exactly where you might be able to put the battery and offset a $500,000 cost or $2 million cost on a transformer or wire upgrade. The vegetation management analytics, why you will see that Brandon talked about it. I still like to talk about it a little bit. Why? Because we did not come up with it. It's actually our client, Heart of Texas, did. Just because we brought it all together, one of Brandon's people said, well, can I see the vegetation? I mean, every time we have to create a map, it's difficult. We said, sure. I don't think it took very long at all. We just took that data that they have, threw it in our data lake. We call it the data lake in our architecture. This is where we get anything third party that you have. We threw it in there. We put it together, added it to our network model, and voila, this is what they have. In one of the conferences we were presenting, half of the attendees from large utilities were, wow, so 2 people were taking pictures. And this is really the result of bringing it all together in the mini control center very affordably. It didn't take anything at all. And then EPE, Chase, who's going to be speaking next, said, well, hey, why don't we add that AMI data, the flickers, the momentary or sustained, they're available from the MDM of the system. We're not replacing the MDM. We just pulled that data and put it there because it became relevant. And we did that quite a while ago. We just read the other day an article by IBM, and they're saying the value of bringing those two together. Well, our client did that because the data is available to them, and that's the power of bringing it all together, and that's what we want. So what is your next challenging smart grid project? Is it you're digitizing, you need to deploy AMIs, you want to add an OMS, you have some regulatory requirements on DER analytics, you need to investigate volt-var optimization, you want to operate and control some data. We believe that there is a smart way of doing it, and it doesn't need to be a huge project. It is really just like going to your consultant and saying, help me. It's not just anyone, but someone who's really living the grid modernization, understanding what it is like. And we're lucky that we were able to build with our customers love of what we do in our technology and our passion to build the architecture that is at the heart of what we can do. So with that said, I hope you get inspired that it's not very difficult to get to a modern grid, one step at a time, and as the need arises, But once you bring it all together, the doors open and you start realizing that there's a lot of return on investment that you could do there, whether it is reducing your people's time, spending time on presenting material, looking at costs and reliability combined, or the power of being able to produce reports that allow you to improve on your operations, your maintenance, and your asset improvements. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chase, who is close to me. Chase is the owner's engineer for our client, Heart of Texas. He was all along in the experience of that grid modernization track that they're traveling. So Chase.
All right. Hello, everybody. So my name is Chase Lansdale. As you see here, I'm a distribution consultant as well as the product manager for ENER-I. So you can tilt this up just a little bit. I only got about 5 to 7 minutes here, so I'm going to try and go through this pretty quick. I want to really just cover the technical aspects of, okay, what exactly is ENER-I? What did we do, and how did we get to where we are now with what we're showing with Heart of Texas? So to really cover really quickly what ENER-I is as a platform, first and foremost, it's a modular approach. ENER-I is comprised of a bunch of different things that come together to make one cohesive product. The idea behind the modular aspect is that we can add things and take things away as certain clients need it. Every client is different. Everyone's application and roadmap of where they want to be with the smart system is a unique platform. And so we pull in different things as it's necessary to your vision. Second, it's an enterprise platform. It allows the data to be accessed across your company, and it makes the access very accessible and ease of use. So let's say your finance department needs to sign on it and view a couple aspects related to your grid. They can see the same things the operation manager is seeing and compare data with them and able to come to a conclusion on a comprehensive data set. We employ state-of-the-art technologies. These are kind of next-gen platforms where we can either deploy different systems on your premise to actually run everything behind your own firewall on your own systems, or we can deploy to the cloud as well. This allows us to maybe be capable of scaling up different systems if you have massive amounts of data coming in, or if you want to maybe not have to manage all of your hardware on premise. Our advanced analytics engine utilizes our data lake structure, and this is the structure that allows us to pull in all this different information. So the idea behind the data lake being, if you have information that's coming in spreadsheets, information that's coming in multi-speak transfers, information that's coming in through databases, all of that can be pulled together in what we call the data lake for our analytics platform. And finally here, the last little point is it's backed by EPE consulting. So it's supported by power systems engineers who work on the system day in and day out. And we're doing these type analysis for all of our different clients. And we're very familiar with the level of detail we need from this data, how we get it, and the different access methods we use. So I'm going to quickly go through these slides here just to respect time here. But the stages we went through Heart of Texas are really threefold. We started with wanting to get the system digitized. And the idea behind this was get the GIS system up in an enterprise level web map, let everyone be able to access the data, view the system on a GIS basis, view different base maps, support mobile applications so that the field crew could view your entire system live as is. And this basically brings the whole company on one level playing field, okay, here's my system, here's what it looks like, here's my assets, here's my customers. I'm seeing the same thing the field crew's seeing, and we're all on one level playing field. This also allows us to increase safety as well. Most importantly here is that with everyone being on the same playing field, knowing the same amount of data, the operations person working in the office viewing the map is viewing the same exact map that the field crew is looking at. This is imperative because you know exactly where the flow is coming from, what your connections are hooked up to, what phase you're on, what voltage you're working on for PPE necessity, and just it allows for the communication to flow a lot better and kind of gives you that peace of mind that, I know for a fact he's looking at, Windsor 2423 circuit because I can see him on his location right here. And I know he's, pointing to this map here. So I know he's in the right spot. I know he's safe. And this kind of leads into, once we had the network digitized and we had that information coming in, then we started pulling in some of the AMI data to basically build out what we call the mini control center. This is where now we're pulling in outage information from the meters. We're layering that on top of our web GIS system. And then we're pulling in other data systems like the fleet tracking, the AVL. Those combined pretty much allows you to see the current state of your network as it is right in this moment. You can see who's out of power, where are my trucks at, what's the most likely system that's out, what's the path back to the substation, and make these quick operation decisions as you need. And then finally, we touched base on this a lot. We think this is where a lot of the impact of pulling all those systems can really shine, is the advanced data analytics. So this is where, when we're pulling this information in, we can make quick use of this data to basically view what you're wanting to view. When you were sold that AMI system and saying, oh, we collect all this information every 15 minutes, you can get voltage readings, power factor readings, that's all great, but what do you do with that information? How does that benefit me as a company? And this is where you can really take that data and make it useful. What you're seeing here, and we've touched on it a bunch of times, is the vegetation data. We're getting, our contractors out in the field might be getting back reports telling us exactly what we spent, what type of vegetation management was done on a certain area. And then what we're able to do is pull that back into the network system and view on a map. Okay, here's exactly what they spent. Here's the type of project that happened. Here's what it cost me. And you can quickly compare and contrast these projects and see, where you can improve efficiencies or where you might want to focus next. And then finally, this is just another dashboard here showing the power of pulling in two common systems that many co-ops may have. Is you're pulling in SCADA data. So this is your 15-minute power readings on an aggregate scale. Maybe this is at your substations or at your feeder heads. We can layer that on top of your meter data so that you can drill down all the way to the meter level of what certain profiles may be. What you're seeing here is we have a system peak that we've identified on a certain day using the SCADA data. We can click on that peak and then view all of our meter usages for that day. We can then sort by different meter usages and click on individual meters and see their profile throughout the day. Kind of help see what your actual customer usage is looking like, maybe where some certain demand response programs might come into play, or other management systems may be beneficial here. And then, pulling this all together, this is just kind of showing all those different systems that we can pull in to the ENER-I. And kind of what we've showed today is your CIS, all your customer information, bringing in outage data, bringing in your SCADA measurements, your staking programs, your fleet tracking, and your AMI interval reads, all under one centralized platform to pull all that and build out some really meaningful reports for you. The centralized data lake here, all that data comes in, it's straight from all your different systems. It allows the operations group to view all the information as they need and make quick decisions. It allows for impactful analysis to be built with these different reports, building out, maybe heat maps for where your load's at, or identifying certain areas for asset management. And then finally, most importantly, it's flexible. This data is coming into the data lake. We're centralizing it for you. These reports we've showed you are some examples of what's capable, but the important part here is that we open this up to you. These dashboards are customizable to whatever you see fit, and they don't have to be built by us. The platform for building these dashboards is open to the end user. So with that, I will turn it back over to Hala and the AIEC team, and hopefully answer any questions. I'll be here to answer technical questions, and I think Hala's online on the separate machine here to answer any related to the company.
I was going to be at the end. Do you want me to take over or you want to stay?
I'll let her take over here.
Okay.
Just gonna swap seats.
You can be with Dan, who's over there. He's got Dan and Tanner. All right. So we're done with this presentation. We can make some conclusions, take some questions, or raise some questions ourselves. I don't hear anyone from management.
At this time, we had no questions coming in. I just remind our participants, if you have any questions, please submit those through the chat.
Okay, very good. So you want us to speak a little more, or we give people a break between sessions? What do you prefer?
If that's the conclusion of your presentations, we can go ahead and move on. If we have no further questions at this time, I'm not seeing any come in.
Okay, very good.
We would like to thank you for your time today. Excellent presentation. Thank you, Brandon, as well as Chase. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the presentation. Next up at, I believe it is 2:30. We have, what do we have next? By ENER-I?
Fiber solutions for rural electric utilities.
And so that'll be up at 2:30. And then real quick, Hala, if you could, if anyone would like to reach out to you, what is your contact information? They can obviously always go through AIEC and we can put them in contact with you, but real quick, how would they best reach?
So that's great. So we're going to share those slides with you if you want to share them. The last slide has, I don't know if you're still sharing the screen, it has my email and Chase's email, as well as Brandon. In one of his slides, he's welcomed anybody to reach out to him. So the emails are there. Mine is hballouz, HBALLOUZ @epeconsulting.com. Chase is C. Lansdale @epeconsulting.com, and Brandon is Brandon @HOTEC.coop. We would love to share the experience. I know Brandon loves to share the experience, and since we have a couple of minutes, I think if Brandon is still there, he usually likes to give a closing. He's passionate about getting more people to have the same experience. So Brandon, are you there still?
I am. So I'll just finish. I know I'm moving on to the next session, but really am, after being in the business for 25 years, seeing so much data come and go that's not utilized, it's been very beneficial to our team. It's been fun. We've been able to utilize resources from multiple departments. We're able to leverage the resources they have that we may not have on staff. And we've just become a better co-op for it. And I think it's well worth the investment. So you're more than welcome for anyone that you may have on your team to call our team, call me directly, send an email. And as a co-op, we enjoy doing that. It's part of our principles.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. It's always a pleasure to hear from other cooperatives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, if you have not registered for our next webinar, I believe that registration is still open. If it's not, just send your request to Ashley and she'll make sure she gets you registered for that next webinar. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you in 30 minutes.